Gamercon, Ireland's largest ever gaming event, has just been announced, and it's not to be missed. Gamercon Dublin will take place at the Convention Centre Dublin on March 18th and 19th, 2017, and up to 20,000 gamers are expected to attend. Gamercon has partnered with GameStop, the global leaders in gaming retail, for the event. Gamers or their loved ones can buy their tickets in any GameStop store nationwide, as well as online at www.gamer-con.com. Sony, Microsoft, Alienware, Razer, and Creative will also participate, together with Red Bull, to make this the most incredible gaming event ever seen in Ireland. Guests can expect access to a huge range of games, with over 800 gaming positions in the Gamer Zone alone. There will also be virtual reality experiences with PlayStation VR, mobile gaming, console gaming, access to the latest PC gaming hardware from Alienware, and now the signature luminous green gaming peripherals from Razer, as well as headsets from the Creative Sounds Blaster X Pro gaming range. GameStop will also provide gamers with a full selection of gaming titles and merchandise in the GameStop merch market. If that's not enough, GamerCon will bring some of the biggest global gaming stars from YouTube to the event, with heavyweights such as Jerome ASF, Uber Danger, and AR12 Gaming, as well as Little Carly, Little Kelly, and Mindvengers for the younger gamers. GamerCon takes place at the Convention Centre Dublin on March 18th and 19th, 2017, from 9:30 a.m. to 6:30 p.m. General admission costs £25, and family passes cost £80. For additional ticket options and further details on pricing, go to www.gamer-con.com. As an exclusive bonus, the Alpha Zone Gaming Podcast has an interview with the director of GamerCon, Ferdi Roberts, directly after the show. And now, let's get to it. Welcome, everyone, to the 2016 Year in Review episode of the Alpha Zone Gaming Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Malloy, as always, with the man from the Emerald Isle himself, Mr. Ronan Fox.
What's happening, guys? How are you all doing?
Top of the morning, Ronan.
Good.
And the pride of the Grand Canyon State, you just heard, Mr. Kent Kingsford himself.
That's right. Spoilers, people. By the end of this episode, one of us will die.
Whoa. And my is Kent. So I'm betting him. He had a coughing fit based off of a vape pen earlier. I don't know how that's involved, but that's going to happen. Yeah, so what's up, guys? What's going on? How's Christmas?
Absolutely enjoying it every minute, to be honest. Yeah. I've been off work just like yourself, and I've been filling my spare time with playing video games. So, yeah, it's been awesome, to say the least.
The best kind of break, indeed. So here's a question for you guys. What did Santa leave under the tree for you? Any highlights?
I got two highlights, basically, that Santa left me.
Do it.
I got a pretty rare pistol for my dad, which does
cool.
follow the show know. I like the guns.
He does like the guns.
And my girlfriend got me an Xbox One, so I now own all the current gen systems.
Whoa, do we still count Wii U as a current gen system?
We do until the Switch releases.
All right,
we do. I like it.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. I had to ask the scoops, man. Ask the important questions.
It's currently generating sales at a very disgusting rate.
Okay.
But still generating.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And then, Ronan, what did Santa leave for you, buddy?
So Santa left, for me personally, F all. We promised each other that we wouldn't go crazy on ourselves this year, that we'd kind of, give the young lad a great Christmas by buying him whatever he wanted. So
yes.
Santa left him a PlayStation Vita, and
cool.
I think we've been 50-50 in that thing. He's been playing remote play Destiny. That's why I asked you guys during the week. I was locked in a trial mode for some reason. It was a glitch on the system, but I got it sorted. He's playing Destiny on the Vita, and I have to say, remote play is flawless. I played it myself in a couple of games, and I don't find any lag at all. I think it's the fact that you're on the same network in the house, but I don't find any lag at all. I think it's fascinating. The only thing that I will take away from it, and they have improved it in the new model, is obviously the buttons, the R2 and L2 are not as not the same as a PlayStation controller on the model I got. I know it has changed with the newer model, as far as I understand. But yeah, it's the system is so well built. It feels, it feels like pure quality when it's in your hand. The
It's
screen,
firm, right?
it's firm.
This isn't like a Nintendo plasticky like Fisher Price device. Like you pick up a Vita, and Ken and I have talked about the system like on the show like ad nauseum, but you feel like it's a great piece of tech. Like this is like hardcore tech that went into the game.
That's what kind of blew me away first and foremost. When I opened it up to install the games, I think he got like a couple of Lego games for free in a bundle. The minute I opened it up and I felt the kind of weight of it, I felt the analog sticks were just perfect. That's the one thing that stood out, is how well built it is. And people might give out about the weight or whatever, but I think it kind of holds nicely in your hands, and it makes you feel like you're holding something. And I've had an awesome time with it.
I feel like the new one actually kind of gets rid of a little of that. Like the older model definitely feels more like a piece of adult tech. I think the new one feels a little more kid glovey, but you got to save costs. But yeah, I mean, I think me and Sean, like he said, have proselytized for the Vita to the point that people probably hate us for that as much as Drive Club. So
yeah, we are like we are the key demagogues for the Vita and Drive Club since we started the show.
Just one more quick thing on the Vita before we move off it. What I love about it is you know straight away that a game is going to be good on that system. Like there's certain games that, it's nice to play on the PlayStation on the big screen, but there's other games that they're just so perfect for, you have 5 minutes to spare, you can flick it on. Hotline Miami is one that comes to mind. I didn't really play that game all that much on PlayStation because
I didn't either.
Yeah, and then I got it on Vita, and I have been addicted to that thing. So it's great how it brings, and that was a free game, like Ken said in previous shows. Like you're going to get 20 to maybe 15 to 20 free games before you even turn that thing on, and that was one of them. And I've put about 8 hours into that thing. I've nearly cleared it, and I would never have played that if I didn't have this system. So
that game is tailor made for headphones and the Vita, the way it's set up. That game it's in its sweet spot when you play it like that, no question.
Awesome.
Yeah, 100% agree. Like when it comes to like mine, we swore as a family we weren't going to do like big presents at all. We get like our normal like stockings from Santa, and that's where like the most of like our Christmas presents come from. But my mom did this awesome thing for Christmas. I will give her a shout out on the show because I think she's listened to 3 total. So whatever. What up, Mom? We went to Green Bay, Wisconsin in November to see the Green Bay Packers play live, which for a Green Bay fan, that's like making the pilgrimage to Mecca. Is like you're going to the house where it belongs. So I took a panorama shot of us at the game, just so like we were there. And what she did, she very sneakily got on my laptop, ordered a print, and then had it framed with the green and yellow like embossed like all around the edges. So awesome. Now like in my home office, I have this gigantic, it's huge. I think it's like a 27 by 40 of a panorama shot of like Lambeau of us being on the field. So that was one of those presents that it hits home, and it hit like right in the feels, as they say, and it got me choked up. And so for someone to put that much care into a Christmas gift for me, like no matter what it was, Mom, it was really special. Like
it's not just go to the store and buy something. There's thought put into it. They're the presents that you're going to look back for years to come.
Yeah. So hats off to Mom for that one. And so before I get too mushy into it, we're going right into our first segment. As listeners of the show always know, we're doing what we're playing. We've been playing a bunch. Kent, you've been playing less because you're buying a house, and Ronan and I have been lazy on vacation, drinking and gaming. So let's start. I'm going to start up with you, man, because I think Ronan and I might go into some deep dives. So we'll let Kent up the bat first.
Yeah, between buying the house and working retail, I've had I think a total of 2 days counting Christmas, and I was not at home, so I couldn't play video games. But I've been playing a little bit after work, and I've been playing The Division since they released the survival patch.
Oh, cool.
And I've been playing Uncharted 4, the survival mode on that too. And I've really enjoyed both of them. They're kind of totally different ways of approaching a survival game.
Yeah.
But they both have really fantastic merits. I think Uncharted 4 is kind of more traditional when people think of when they think survival. It's basically a wave spawn type of setup. The gameplay in that game is so tight, it works really well in that environment. The biggest drawback of it is with all of the Uncharted multiplayers, in my opinion, I don't think any of them have been really bad per se. They just kind of suffer from a lack of people playing them.
Yeah,
You
I'll
know?
agree. Like I jumped into that Uncharted for like the survival mode too, and I haven't played it since I platinumed it back in like June or whatever. And so I jump in the survival mode, dude. I got worked for like 2 hours, and
Yeah,
I was like, what the hell,
it's
man?
not easy.
Yeah, I was like, I used to be really good at Uncharted 4 like multiplayer. So what I had to do is I had to go back into a couple like story missions just to figure out the controls again and get like those wheels turning in my head, transfer back out. And so I wasn't used to it because like you jump into multiplayer and it's like locked at 60 frames, like 1080, and not even the regular game runs that quick. So just the speed of it, I'm like, all right, I have to catch up. I have to get like the wheels in motion. But no, I think what Naughty Dog did with the survival mode is like, dude, I can't wait for the Lost Legacy DLC now, just because everything they do is good. It's stupid. It's just stupid good.
Yeah.
So
And then the Divisions is kind of more interesting because it's like they basically take you out of the loot cycle of that game. And been a big fan of like Destiny in the past and like some other games that kind of you have to stay on your homework basically to play.
yeah,
And I'm kind of at a point where I can't really do that. And so like I wouldn't say I'm totally unable to compete in the Division. My character, I throw it on every now and then. I get decent gear. My character is lagging, but he's competitive.
yeah,
But the nice thing is I was able to get my buddy Joe on and Nicole's brother, and none of us have really played different games with them, and none of us really have anywhere near the same level in that game.
yeah, sure.
And it was really nice to sort of pull it out of that loot cycle. And there's a really cool story reason for it, and I think it plays better into the narrative than a lot of the stuff in the Division does. And it's really cool to sort of have to have a meaningful sort of micro way to replay that initial loot grind where you go from having nothing to get stuff, and you do it all kind of real time with your friends and with support. And it was really a smart move on their part, I think, to try and revitalize that game because it really captures what people liked about it when it initially came out. That's sort of the luster that covered over the lack of content and some of the stuff. And the way that you can just turn the difficulty up on the whole game world,
cool.
patch that in. That is really a cool concept. I really like that. But
So
that's pretty much what I've been playing.
So is it like constantly just changing like what they're doing? Like when it comes to like ramping up difficulty, you set it up for like pros or like actually experienced, but you can bring it back down too for like the newbies jumping into survival?
Well, survival is its own difficulty curve.
Oh, got it. Okay, yeah, sorry.
So like survival's like jumping into a totally different game, which I think is actually smart. It's like if you were to say this, it's almost like the difference between playing like what you call it, Iron Banner versus playing the story.
Yeah.
There's a very minuscule amount of carryover, but for the most part.
All right, cool. That sounds good, man. Like I haven't played Destiny since March, but these updates that they're doing with they're fixing like the core content like within like the actual like story mode to like make it easier like getting loot and like change your story modes and actually making sense with partner and stuff. The care that they're giving to that game, like hats off to Ubisoft for doing this because they've been fixing this slowly but surely. And then Rainbow Six Siege is like one of these games that came out last year. And the more they're updating it, the more they're like retaining players and like getting new players. And so like I'm glad these games are not just this flash in the pan, like two months and like no one's playing. I'm glad they're getting people coming back. So that's cool. Good reporting in, my dude. Ronan, we're about to jump into Japan culture, like hardcore right now. You wanna tee off first? You want me to go?
You work away, Shawnee, and I'll run off what.
All right, so the other
you?
thing I got for Christmas was Final Fantasy 15, the long belabored game in development. That's like if you're talking games right now, you're talking Final Fantasy 15. That's one of these buzz games. And so in previous shows, we've talked about I don't know if I'm going to get it or not because none of them it's appealing, and then it's slowly chipping away at my brain. I'm like, maybe I want to try. They're talking about like this weird ass cup of noodles mission. I'm like, what the hell is it with a cup of noodles mission? So like all this stuff starts chipping away in my interest, and then I'm like, you know what? If someone wants to grab me like Final Fantasy 15 for Christmas, like go for it. My sister actually got it for me, so hats off to her. So family coming in clutch, and so I've been playing that nonstop. We're recording this episode Friday evening. I've been playing it nonstop from Monday morning until now. I finished it, so I clocked in at about 30 hours. I'm debating going back for the platinum because it's totally doable. You just play the game on normal. If you beat it on normal, you can totally get like the platinum. It's pretty simple. But the one thing about this game is, Ronan, you played it for a couple hours and it didn't stick with you yet. I did the same thing. It was the first 3-4 hours are so bizarre and just weird. I was like, oh, dude, I don't know if I'm actually like feeling this game. And then you start getting into getting new gear and getting new weapons and finally equipping magic and figuring out how to like combining different magical levels with a potion. And so you get like this crazy like freeze blast, but at the same time it can like cure your party. And like the way you're working through the system is great. Like the skill tree, it's I forget the name of it now, but you start delving points out through combat, through teamwork, through strength, through like combinations. Special skills are usually, so the special skills kind of work in place of summons. You get up a certain amount of hits and you can tell one of your characters to do like a specific attack that's like superpower, like in combat. I think that's cool. I didn't think I was going to like the 4 characters, but I actually ended up like really liking the 4 characters. Like the 4 main guys, they all have their certain like attributes and qualms about them that I'm like, oh, I don't know if they're going to be interesting. And you start getting into their backstory of like why these guys are bonding. And spoiler alert, like later on in the game, some friction happens. Then you actually care about these characters that care about each other. And you're like, why is this guy acting like a dick? I'm like, I feel bad for this guy. And so like you, throughout the course of the game, they do a really good job of like bonding together and making you care about these like core 4. As far as gameplay goes, I think it's pretty tight. There's 2 or 3 fights in the entire time where I would get frustrated and not really understand like why the hell can't I beat this boss that's the same level as me? And then you realize that, oh, you should have gone into battle and scanned them for weaknesses and like worked through that way. And the one thing I said, that all the major review outlets that have posted a review of the game, they all say the game suffers in the final third. There is a 4 or 5 hour chunk in there that you have no idea why they're doing it this way. All of a sudden, this open world is shrunk into these corridors that feel more survival horror than anything. And it sounds weird to say that in a Final Fantasy game, but it's 100% true. This feels like you're playing a Dead Space or a Resident Evil or anything like that. You're constantly like hiding in hallways to like replenish magic, replenish health. And so you're going about your business that way. And then I think the finale is awesome. The way they bring in official summons to the game where you're getting your ass kicked, you pull a trigger, and then you're bringing in Shiva, you're bringing in Ifrit, you're bringing in like a Bahamut, like to come in and really like save your ass. And the way they do that is very smart because it's not a typical Final Fantasy game where it's you save up enough points and you can call in a summon. It's the summons are there very specifically, like when you actually have to call them. And you'll see like when you work through it, but I'm super impressed. It's typical Japanese, like there's scantily clad women everywhere. The lead mechanic, her name's Cindy. She's wearing like booty shorts and a G-string hanging out with a yellow jacket and red lingerie, and you just have to accept that. And you're like, all right, that's Cindy, so cool. Like there's the certain tropes of every Final Fantasy. There's chocobos and there's cactuars and there's a guy named Sid, and so it's all there, man. I think I'm not saying it's one of my favorite games of the year, but it's definitely in like my top 10 of surprise, or it's the biggest surprise for me. I never expected to like it, and I ended up really loving that game. So hats off to that team. I'm not sure that game needed to take 10 years of all the like restarts, but hats off to the team at Square Enix for like pulling that off, because very impressed.
I had it purchased on the last show. We talked about it, and I didn't basically play it yet. And I was waiting for the right time. I turned it on one evening and I was quite tired when I turned it on. I remember saying, I don't know whether I'm in the mood for, a big epic. And usually these games start pretty slowly, and I think that's what I was expecting. But with Final Fantasy 15, it kicks you straight into open world and you're free to do what you want. And I think that was a problem for me because I wasn't driven down a path from the get-go. I wasn't, entwined with these characters and, connected to them in any way, shape or form. I found that I was kind of running across open plains for miles, and I was like, oh, I don't think this is the right time. So like I said to you in a previous message, I don't think I can judge that game with such a small snippet of play, but I will definitely give it a go, because obviously with your explanation of it, it does intrigue me that there's Ifrit to be seen as like in these stunning graphics, and the gameplay does open up somewhat. What is it, 8-9 hours in?
Yeah, it's about, I would say it probably takes you about like 6 or 7 to really get your like footing on the open world and figure out this is the system of things I have to do next. This is how the hotels work and how XP is working. Because what happens is you bank XP throughout like the course of a day, like in the
Yeah.
game, and then you only level up when you go to a hotel and stay the night. And depending on how much money you spend at the hotel, it can give you a multiplier of 1 and give you a multiplier of 3 times the amount of XP. So like figuring out strategically how to do this
If
is
you
actually
die,
like,
do you lose that XP in
no,
the
you
meantime?
keep it, but you just have to restart it, like wherever your last save point is. And so whatever XP you gained will stick with you, but you might be transported on the other side of the map, like complete. So it might be a pain in the ass to get back. But yeah, give it another go. We'll discuss in a later show what you think, because the scale of that, I always forget how big and huge Final Fantasy games are until you play it. And the scale of those games are just insane. Like you understand like why fans go nuts for them. And on a side note, the way they incorporate, like, this sounds like not a big deal, but the way they incorporate the logo of Final Fantasy 15 into the game is probably one of the smartest things I've seen this year when it comes to incorporation of art within like the realm of like video games. So you'll see, but man, it's really cool how they do it. So there's the Sean Corner of Japanese RPGs for the show. It's not a genre I usually dive into at all, but when I do, I'm like, oh yeah, this is kind of weird, but this is actually like kind of cool, and I really do enjoy this. But Ronan, you're going a completely different take on the Japanese RPG, so tell the folks what you've been playing.
So I have stepped into another dimension. Mind the pun for people who have played the game. But so I've been playing
No.
Persona 4 Golden on the Vita. I told you that my son got the Vita off Santi, and I have been rocking that thing. I purchased Persona 4 Golden for $4.99 on the store, and
Steal.
exactly,
That's so insane.
hats off to Greg and Colin at Kind of Funny
Yeah.
for basically pushing that game and basically telling people that this is the reason why you get a Vita.
Yeah.
I turned it on after I played Final Fantasy 15 because I think what I was expecting out of Final Fantasy 15 was this, really funky, weird Japanese JRPG. And
Yeah.
I think taking Final Fantasy, it has gone very Western with its last couple of, probably since 10, it's gone very Westernized.
Yeah.
Before that, 9 was kind of a Studio Ghibli kind of vibe, if that's the way you pronounce it.
Oh
Kento,
yeah.
correct me if I'm
Yeah.
wrong.
Yeah.
Yeah.
8 was very, JRPG kind of anime, and then the whole way back. But I kind of expected 15 to be,
Yeah.
but it wasn't quite what I wanted it to be. And when I turned on Persona, it just sings Japanese culture from literally everything you do in that game. Tells you some different snippet about Japanese culture. I mean, I didn't know that Japanese kids go to school on a Saturday, but I do now
Yeah.
because you have to go to school in Persona every day, and Saturday is a day that you go to school. So I was like, I wonder, is that true? And I looked it up, and yes, it's true. They go to school on Saturdays. So the game, it's the loop of the game that I love. And the loop of this game is you wake up in the morning, you go to school, you may have the teacher ask you a question. If you get that question right, it'll be about, world knowledge. If you get
Yeah.
that question right, your knowledge will go up in your stats. Your
Oh,
knowledge
cool.
will then allow you to, gain different friends that might be interested in studying with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
That leads to social links. Social links is basically what you're used to power your personas. And the main part of this game is your persona is, it's like a split personality of yourself. All the
Mhm.
bad things that you hide on a day-to-day basis, they come out
Interesting.
in your persona. And that's why these personas are evil when you first meet them. The only way you can control a persona is if you accept it as yourself. And you see like parts of the game where one of the students may be struggling with his sexuality, and
Yeah.
he goes and he meets this persona in a different dimension, and the persona just wants to let loose, wants to tell the world, and the guy doesn't want to. He wants to hold back, but when he accepts, he has the power of that persona. Think of them as Pokemon.
Yeah.
Probably is the best way. So there's a kind of a collector collector, gatherer, you know, grinding for these personas, and each one of them are different. Each one of them are, you know, there's so many designs, like from angels, from demons, from mythical creatures, and they're just awesome. Every time you unlock one, it's just like, wow, the design is so crazy and funky, and you know it's a JRPG.
You know this is a JRPG.
You know you're in. The battle system is very much Final Fantasy of old. It's turn-based. There's a characteristics of Final Fantasy 12 where you can give your other party members tactics, or you can control them directly. I like controlling them directly because from the first dungeon in the game is ridiculously hard, and it does take a bit of grinding to get through it, but it's enjoyable. The battle system is so quick and fun, and it doesn't feel like a grind. It's captivated me in a way that I never thought it would. The fact that I'm thinking about it every kind of part of the day. I wake up, I say, oh, I'll go and get breakfast, I'll do this, and then I'll play a bit of Persona. And what I do is I play snippets of maybe 15, 20 minutes, and I put it down. And if I do get, like tonight, my partner went out with a few drinks with her friends, I just literally sat on the couch, some music in the background, and played it on my Vita, and I just loved every minute of it.
Yeah, good. I like that. I mean, two completely different Japanese RPGs that Verona and I have just like fallen in love with, and so didn't expect that to happen. It's totally happened. I think the other thing is I want to mention really quick about Final Fantasy before we move on to the topic of the episode. The banner across it when you start is this is a Final Fantasy for first timers and professionals, or I forget how they phrase it, but it's 100%. It's 100% right. It's you can start this game with no experience in a Japanese RPG and be fine about it. Is that the same thing in Persona Run? Is it easy to pick up?
It's super easy to pick up. It's You know, I think a lot of people give Persona a bad rep because it has such a slow start.
Yeah.
It takes about maybe 2 hours to really dive into the, you know, it kind of unlocks, and you know it unlocks because you can go and start doing all these events. The thing about it is you don't really need to battle until maybe 10 hours in. You can go and you can have this game as a kind of a sitcom, making friends. And I mean, the writing is super, super tight in this game. Everything flows. Everything has it ebbs and flows. The way the characters present themselves on screen in a kind of artistic drawing, and then the words come up. A lot of it, I would say 90% is voice acted. Some of it obviously with NPCs that don't really have any importance to the story. It'll come up in text, but I don't mind that at all. Sometimes I play the game like super silent if I'm in bed or whatever. Sometimes I play it with the sound on. It's so accessible, and the game is charming. I don't know whether I'll get through the 60-hour epic of it, but I'm glad I picked it up, and I'm glad I have the experience with it. What I will say to you guys and anyone listening is just go and pick it up, get through the first 2 hours, and if you're not captivated by its charm and by its, you know, its beautiful artistic kind of vision, I don't know, move on and find something else. Go to Final Fantasy 15 maybe.
Yeah, there you go, something. Kent, you said one of us might die. We haven't heard from you because we've been rolling. You dead yet?
Yeah, I died of a lack of JRPG-ness.
Well, there you go. So Kent called at the beginning of the show. No, Kent's dead, and so we're moving on. Really quick, want to have another mention. We are interviewing Ferdi Roberts, the director of Gamercon 2017 in Dublin, Ireland, at the end of the show. So once we're all finished with our rigmarole and our rundown, stick around with that. It's a 30-minute deep dive into gaming culture in America versus Ireland, how he got into the industry himself, and what he sees the future of the industry coming. So really cool interview. I did that last week that we're Friday going to upload for everyone to listen to in the show for the audio version. You watching on YouTube, download the audio version because we can't insert that. All right, boys, 2016, shitty year for celebrity deaths. Good year.
That's correct.
For games. And so what I felt like I wanted to do for our topic of the episode, there's no cool thing to say like that. I want to do a round robin. 5 favorite games of 2016, 5 notable mentions, and we'll just go around and everyone can pick one at a time and do a quick 30-second, minute-long dive into why this made your favorite game of the year. Kent, we haven't heard your sweet, sultry voice, my friend. So why don't you start us off?
I think the one I got to put in there, man, it's the game that to this point has still stood out the most to me this year is Uncharted 4. I mean,
yeah.
There's not much that needs to be said about Uncharted 4 that we haven't already said. I will remind people the story is phenomenal. It ties such a great bow on it, and if anyone's sort of avoiding it because they're afraid that the team that did The Last of Us is going to shift the tone or anything, they navigate that so deftly and so well. The gameplay on it is super tight, super wonderful. It definitely takes that series and pushes it in a bigger direction. And I think that it's just a game that is probably definitive so far of what you can get on the PS4. There's a few games that are out there like that, and I think that Uncharted 4 needs to kind of be added to that stack where it's like, this is why you buy a PS4 is for this game.
Yeah, definitely. It was also in my list of my favorite games of 2016 for everything you said, and more. It's like the beat for beat of what that game does, like thematically and plot wise, to get you through the movements of the story itself. It's so smart and it's so well done, and you care for these characters, and by the end you're like white knuckled. You want the ending to be happy, and then the way you phrased it tied a bow on the entire series, and this stuff keeps coming. I mean, like we talked at the beginning of the show about the survival mode, and like the multiplayer is great, and like the full suite of experiences in Uncharted 4 is it's not comparable to me to anything else released this year. If I had to give an award to a game of the year, it's Uncharted 4 for me. Yeah.
So I'll go and follow that with, it's also on my list.
Yeah.
I'll just do a little quick snippet of it. It's my favorite Uncharted. By an absolute mile. I loved how dark it went with the story, while not just killing off everyone for no reason. I thought it was just brilliantly wrote. The pacing, some people gave out about it. I thought you needed that bit of break in the middle because it's an absolute roller coaster from start to finish. You get to see Nate as a young boy and his brother, and how that relationship builds, and the characters that are in that game shine in Uncharted 4 more than they do in any other game.
Agreed. So there you go. So first round, we all agree Uncharted 4, no surprise, one of our top 5s of the year. Kent, second round, buddy. Take it.
The second thing I'm gonna put in my top 5 is Titanfall 2, man.
Okay, cool.
I'm just absolutely surprised and impressed by how good that game is. I don't know that there's a necessarily formula to a great first-person shooter, but I think that whatever that formula is, Respawn clearly took all the people that knew it from Infinity Ward. I mean, that game is just great. If you are a person who likes some of the older shooters and you think, man, I don't really like that futuristic stuff in a shooter, pick up Titanfall 2. If you don't like the futuristic stuff in Titanfall 2, then that's genuinely what it is. For me personally, what I discovered after going back and playing Infinite Warfare and Advanced Warfare, especially after playing Titanfall 2, is that I do like that stuff. It's just poorly executed in those games.
Yeah. Agreed. I mean, I'm not going to push back because I agree Titanfall 2 is like one of the excellent shooters of the year, and it's a shame that it's got sandwiched in between Battlefield 1 and Call of Duty. But if I'm picking a top 5 of the year, I am putting Call of Duty Infinite Warfare in my top 5. And this is, I have to mention that I do not play the multiplayer in Call of Duty anymore because I'm tired of little kids telling they're dating my mom, and that pisses me off. But what I can say about Call of Duty is, other than the first Modern Warfare, it's the campaign that I'm going to remember for a long time. And it's weird because it's not, I understand the beats of the story makes sense to me, like how it plots from your first contact to getting to the moon mission to getting to Mars to like getting to the finale. But the things I like most is like you get this hub of when you're selecting missions, and you can select anything you want at any point because they're all funneling you towards an end. And so once you're doing that, is you might play an on-foot mission. You're like, okay, so I've played enough on-foot missions, like typical Call of Duty style. I want to go do a dogfighting mission. Pick a dogfighting mission. I want to switch back. I want to do a couple. So the accessibility of the different ways the game presents its narrative really strong. again, the sales of that aren't as high, and I think that's a shame because story-wise, I think that's the best Call of Duty in a long, long time. So let me cross
I
that
do
off.
want to say I think that you're right about the story. It's just I think what's killing it and what's killing it, that series in general, is the lack of innovation in the online. I think the online
Agreed,
is
dude.
kind of especially bad.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, I heard just horror stories online, and that way I have no urge to even try it. It's downloaded on my PS4. That's one I downloaded hard that I've mentioned on the show before because I want that Modern Warfare remaster. And if I want the Call of Duty Formula Online, I'm just gonna go play Modern Warfare remaster anyway, so it doesn't really matter to me. Ronan, next up, sir.
So I'm going to throw my hat at a indie game from
Yeah.
Red Hook Studios. Darkest Dungeon, I think, needs a shout out from
Darkest
me.
yes.
I think it was the way the storytelling is in that game is just it kind of is the type of storytelling that sits with you long after you heard it. The narrator is just really, the stuff he says is so super dark. It really gets you into that world. And I mean, if you want a dungeon crawler that just screams personality, get
Cool.
Darkest Dungeon. It's absolutely amazing. Quick one on the gameplay. It's pretty much like a JRPG in the way it's kind of tactical. It's turn-based.
JRPG.
Yeah.
Back into it.
But the game hates you. If you are in the dungeon for too long, your characters can go insane. They can go crazy. They can start, robbing stuff off you.
Cool.
If they get selfish, yeah, you've got to watch their sanity. And if you don't keep their sanity down, the deeper and deeper you dive into a dungeon, the more of a risk you have on one of your characters going insane. It's a bit like XCOM where you can name your characters, so you become very attached to them, and then they go crazy and you have to, throw them to the dogs because they're robbing all your money. But it's super good. I mean, like if you're into that type of game, that turn-based strategy, just go for Darkest Dungeon. It will not let you down.
That's cool, man. Like, I'm glad you went indie with that pick. Like, it's so easy to go like AAA games for like spectacle, but finding these little gems are really excellent throughout the year. So yeah, good call. Darkest Dungeon,
Yeah.
pick them 2 from Ronan.
That was definitely on my list, man. So I'm glad you shouted that out. They need that narrator to do some kind of voice work in something else, and I'll listen to it. He's so good.
So good.
I think probably for the next one in my rotation, this has been like for me, and I've said it on the show before, but I think for a lot of people, this has been the return of the shooter in a way that we haven't probably seen in a while. Probably since Modern Warfare 2, I think maybe would be the last time we had.
Where you had that onslaught of just like quality AAA shooters like come in.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude.
Yep. And so I got to put Battlefield 1 up there for it, man. It's such a brilliant return to form for Battlefield as a series, and it's such a beautiful game. And the caveat that I will say is that in Titanfall 1, people kind of criticized that game for not implementing the story into the campaign as an online-only game, and kind of Battlefield does such an amazing job of putting the story into the campaign, sort of meshing those two in a way that, at least in comparison with the actual careers in the game, it sort of matches up, and it feels a little more meaningful, and you get the option to sort of get in there with more people. But just a really gorgeous, really fun game that shines, playing with people instead of, kind of how we talked about Call of Duty, the failure rate of lone wolves tends to chase out all the children that date your mom.
Yeah. Damn you, kids. Well, there you go. All right, so Battlefield 1, a ringing endorsement from Mr. Ken Kingsford. Which way am I going to go with my next pick? I'm going to go indie, like following up my boy Ronan over there. I need to mention Inside from Playdead Games as one of my top 5s for the year. Coming off of Limbo, which pretty much everyone played on the planet, they had a very uphill battle of creating another game that's memorable. I think what they did with Inside is near gameplay perfection. I think every mechanic of that game works. I think every movement of the little boy makes sense, and it never feels phoned in, or you never feel like a movement is recycled at all. It just keeps changing, and the mechanics keep changing throughout the game. It'd be very easy to make Limbo 2, and they did not do that. It's completely side-scrolling, yes, but when it comes to, the beat for beat, I keep using that term. I gotta change something. I'm stuck in it. The moments of that game are like fantastic. It makes you want to play it again and go find all the secrets. And one of the most bizarre, brilliant endings I've seen in a game this year, where I finished it and I had to call my homeboy Adam. I'm like, Adam, you played this game before me. We need to talk the shit out of this ending because I need to be able to talk theories with someone because it's so like deep and meta. And is this like a commentary on humanity? Someone brought in like, it's actually a whole commentary on cancer. I'm like, what? So I go read that theory. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense if you apply it correctly. So Inside, Playdead games, definitely on my list of top 5 of the year. Good on them. Ronan, sir.
I will stick to what Ken said. Battlefield 1. I think, for me, Battlefield 1 is the best shooter, probably the best Battlefield to ever be released. I won't say it's the deepest, but I will say it's definitely the funnest Battlefield that they've ever released. And to capture a war that's so, so dark, so evil, to capture in a way where you can actually have fun in an environment like that, they have it down to a T. I think Battlefront was, it was a bit kind of more taken back with the depthness of, say, Battlefield 4. But I think Battlefield 1 is after, growing back. It does have depth, but it also has a funness that it's just gun versus gun. It's not, little gadgets that you can use. It's just grenades, guns, and it's dirty, it's mean. I think they have the atmosphere down to an absolute T. Kent was talking about operations, and I think operations is the real winner in Battlefield 1. To be in an online situation where what you're doing actually means something, it's not just a scoreboard at the end of the game, it's a little snippet of story. And you feel like that, you're involved in this story. And I think that just adds to the whole experience, the online experience. I've played some of the single player, particularly the one, I think it's called Eye in the Sky, where you're a pilot.
Yeah, dude. The fighter
that
pilot?
One is really, really, really good. I mean, you
The
do
whole, oh man, the whole sequence on the Zeppelin at the end is unlike anything I've seen in a single player, like campaign wise. Like the stuff they do in that mission is like the craziest shit I've seen. I'm like, how are they doing this?
What blew my mind was when you fall down and you're in no man's land trying to get back to your... The atmosphere, like I had the headphones on, and the atmosphere and you're going through dead bodies, like crawling through the muck to try and get back to your friendlies, and then you don't know whether your friendlies are going to think you're an enemy. It's really good. It's a really fascinating game. I didn't get to play a huge amount of it, but I have been putting the hours in, and I absolutely love that game.
Cool, man. I mean, but yeah, there you go. It's not on my top 5, but 2 out of 3 of us, I love that game. Didn't hit my top 5, but if 2 or 3 of us like say, give it that a thumbs up, it's gonna be like a top pick for the year. So yeah, good on you guys for recommending that one. Kent, let's throw it back to you, buddy.
I'm gonna pick something that's probably on nobody's list anywhere, but I love it. Mark McMorris's Infinite Air.
So, okay, so before you start on Mark McMorris, I have to tell you something. So I need you to play Steep because I fired it up this morning, and I think that game is your jam, dude. Like, I
agree.
I think Steep is like
I'm waiting for them to drop the gold package with all the DLC included.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that to drop just low enough that I want to buy it. But yeah, I'm definitely going to pick up Steep. More than one person has told me to pick that up.
Yeah, dude, I played it this morning, and the first thing I thought of, I'm like, Kent needs to play this game. Like, it's like not to dog Mark McMorris and the other one you were playing, but they're not as high quality as like Steep is. Steep is like this super sneaky like AAA snowboarding game that no one's talking about. But you start playing it, and you're like, oh yeah, I get it. And you suck like right off the bat with doing tricks and jumps and stuff, and you're just like getting hammered, and you like slowly learn the mechanic more and more. And so I put about 2 hours into it this morning. I'm like, this is a Kent game for sure. But sorry, Mark McMorris, I hijacked that. So go for it. Yeah.
No, I'm definitely going to pick up Steep, so that's on my list too. What I do like about Mark McMorris that I don't think anyone else is after offering yet, Skate tried to dabble in it, but the ability to sort of take that little Big Planet-esque way of, here's my vision for what I want to do with this game.
Yeah.
Put it out there.
Yeah.
The map browser on that is where that game wins. You can find so much neat stuff. And, it's one of those things where, like any of these games, like a Mario Maker, like a Little Big Planet, you got to wade through some bullshit.
Yeah.
Excuse
What
me.
sort of game is it, Kent?
It's a snowboarding game. Yeah?
It's just a snowboarding game. It's an open world snowboarding game, basically.
Cool.
But yeah, and the other thing I like about it is it's definitely more built for free play. So I
Cool.
definitely will pick up Steep, but those two facets of it have just made it like kind of my one of my favorite terms. It's been my junk food gaming for the last half of the year here since it came out.
Excellent, dude. Glad to hear it. My next one I'm going to throw on my top 5 for the list is going to be Batman, a Telltale series. What they're doing, if you know me, you know I'm a Superman guy. Like, I'm looking at my shelf of Superman stuff up there. I'm looking at like my custom DualShock 4 that's Superman. I'm like looking at statues all over the place. Like, I'm a Superman guy. But what Telltale has done with Batman is so brilliant by turning what we think the characters within the Batman universe are and making them completely different. Like, it's so smart. Like, I bring up the Penguin every single time. It'd be so easy to do the Penguin stupid again, but the fact that he's your best friend from childhood and he's not like this like character of a penguin, it's like, it's so smart and well done. And it's one of these games that I'm playing through it, and frequently with a Telltale game, you get a choice. And so what happens with every episode, you get these distinct moments, and you can choose to be Batman and approach a situation as Batman, or you can approach the situation as Bruce Wayne and try to talk your way through it. I found myself so closely bonded to how I made my Bruce Wayne. I would go into situations with Bruce Wayne. I'm like, I don't need to go punch a dude out. Like, I can go talk to him. And so making Bruce Wayne the more badass character in that game, it's not easy to do, and they did it. And so there's a couple of drawbacks on the game. Episode 5, it's no secret that's a technical like mess, but play through it because it's like it just wraps up the story so well. The villain reveal is a twist, and it's insanely cool how they do it. So if you're a fan of Telltale stuff, if you are a fan of Batman, if you're a fan of adventure games, seriously, go through a Batman Telltale series, $25 for 5 episodes. Do that. Cross that one off.
What are we down to? 2 left, is it, or 1 left?
I have Ken, how many do you have?
I'm at 4, so it's probably this one and one more for Ronan.
Yep.
Keep rolling, so.
Yep.
Yeah, so I've got a couple here. It's kind of hard to choose because we had so many awesome games to choose from.
Yeah, I kind of cheated. I'm gonna throw 2 together like really quick at the end, and so I totally cheated. But whatever. I'll do some. We can do an honorable mention if you want to do that. We can say
okay,
that.
let's do that.
All right, honorable mentions.
Okay, so the next game I need to mention on the list is Hitman.
Oh, cool.
A really fascinating thing happened when Hitman was being released. It was Square turned around and said they were going to release it in episodes, and you know, everyone went, boo, why are they doing that? And personally, I did the exact same thing. And what I found out was great about them releasing it in kind of episodic fashion is what they did was they gave you the first episode with all the online playability and the first area and a training mission, I think. And I think I paid about 15 quid for that thing, and it gave me a real experience on did I want to invest in the rest of this game. Right. The answer to that was yes, I did. I went and I bought the rest of the game as the episodes were released. I think you can get the whole thing now for maybe 25, 30 quid. And
yeah,
it is a phenomenal it's a phenomenal Hitman game. I loved the old ones, particularly Blood Money. But it really goes back to that sense of do it your way, whatever way you want to do it, do it. My personal favorite way is Silent Assassin. Get through the whole thing without even being noticed, without even a death being a kill. That's kind of my jam in it, and it's basically what I try and do every time. And by doing that, you get so much time out of this game because you notice something different every time you play it, and then you try and piece the puzzles together, and and then when you make that run where just everything flies, it's poetry. And yeah, I have to give a shout out to that game. They really kind of brought it back to the roots, and I loved every minute of it.
There you go. So are we counting that as an honorable mention, or is that your?
No, that can go as my second.
Right. It's his number 4. Yeah.
I want to write that down. All right, Kent. So we can go honorable mentions. So we all have starting with you. You should have an honorable mention and one more pick. So go for it. So
Yes, sir.
Have at it. All right, man. Have at it.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go with an indie.
All right.
It's kind of a game that I'm not 100% sure released this year. I know it came out earlier on PC, but I just really enjoyed the hell out of it. Was Jotun. It's basically top down. You play a Viking and you sort of go through these different areas of the afterlife to try and get back after being killed. No spoilers there, really, but really cool boss battles. Jotun.
Jot. I'm gonna look this up. Cool.
Really cool art style. Really cool boss fights. Just a really neat, like, it. To me, what I picture when someone tells me, "Hey, man, here's this little indie gem I want you to check out." In my brain, that's what I see. It could sit right next to a Bastion in my mind.
Yeah. Now we're talking. You mentioned that in the same breath as Bastion. All right.
And I played a bunch of it this year, just sort of in pieces, because of it's sort of set up in the hub world. You can engage different parts of the world. Yeah. Which is kind of a neat way to do it. It's kind of like light Metroidvania in that way, where you get certain powers and make certain fights easier. And so, like, you might have a totally different experience to me because I chose to fight a boss with these powers, and you already had powers X, Y, and Z when you went to fight them.
Cool.
But but really, really beautiful art style. They do a really good job in a tiny sort of hand-drawn style game.
Yeah.
Of getting you to sort of feel these vistas in certain areas.
Cool. Man.
It's almost like a Ralph Bakshi animation. The way that they're able to do that, sort of tricks you.
Cool.
But yeah, really cool game. I really enjoyed the crap out of it this year. I got it on a PlayStation sale and been playing the hell out of it.
There you go. So there you go. Jotun, indie, Kent's pick. I'm gonna combine my two honorable mentions really quick. They're both huge games that are AAA, but they're just outside my top 5. Watch Dogs 2, I got to talk about it the last episode, so if I don't need to talk about it more, but super cool. San Francisco feels alive. It was the first game in a long time I want to do tech stuff rather than like shoot everyone. So that's a nod for like the cool innovative stuff they're doing with that. And also Forza Horizon 3 on Xbox One. This is a PlayStation podcast, but I can't help but notice I've sunk like 35, 40 hours in Horizon 3. I think it hits that great line between like racing sim and arcade. It makes me like want to come back and play. There's so many races to do. There's something like 67 different championships. Each championship has 6 races about in it. And so you can play that game for all year and not get tired. They just released that Blizzard Peak expansion. Super cool. Brings a new element of the game. So yeah, there's couple quick honorable mentions that for people who are going multi-platform, or Watch Dogs 2 available on PS4 as well. Ronan, you're up.
So I will do my 2 honorable mentions like yourself before I drop you with my number 1. Ratchet and Clank is one of them. I love that game. I played the original, and it was the type of game when it was coming out, I was like, it'll be good, but it'll be that thing that'll be just nostalgia might play a part for the first couple of hours, and then I'll get bored. But me and my son played that game from start to finish. It's absolutely gorgeous. If you want a game that just, really just looks like a movie, like a Pixar movie, go out and get Ratchet and Clank. You can probably pick it up for next to nothing at the moment.
It's like $20 last time I saw it.
Yeah, it changes the story of the original slightly. Ratchet and Clank don't absolutely despise each other in this game, which they did in the original.
It's so much better, right? Just making them friends.
Yeah, it's so much better because there's no need for that hatred. I mean, like, hatred is taught, love is you're born with that shit. So keep it loved. And,
one love.
One love. And the other game that I have to mention, kind of I won't say a low budget, like it's still a AAA game, but it was kind of brought out a slight bit unpolished than the previous, and that was Far Cry Primal.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. Well, you guys know that I love kind of being out in the wild and the wilderness, and they have a kind of survival mode in it where you have to really, look after your supplies. You have to go hunting to gain food. You have to take down these massive beasts that are difficult as hell. And I mean, throw on a set of headphones and get lost in that world. Yes, it's not as polished as Far Cry 4, but it still holds the atmosphere and the fun that a Far Cry game brings, and that has to be my honorable mention for
That's awesome, man. Good pick. Yeah.
Yeah.
Kent, last pick for this. I guess we're done after this one. So yeah, last pick, sir.
Yeah, I didn't do them in any particular order, so I'm gonna do honorable mention.
Yep.
Because I think you shouldn't be able to count a remaster or re-release. But Call of Duty Modern Warfare,
Yeah.
the remaster, like if you, in case you ever wondered if you remember that game more fondly than it was, you don't. That game is great, and
It is, dude. It's so good.
they came and gave it a new coat of paint, and I mean, not really anything beyond that. Straight up a new coat of paint.
Yeah.
And it holds up amazingly well. It's better than it's better online play than the current and previous Call of Duties going back to Modern Warfare 3, in my personal opinion. Modern Warfare 2 to me is kind of the apex of that game.
Mm-hmm.
But it's better than everything Modern Warfare 3 and on as far as an online game. It's more balanced. It's great. And to be able to play through that story again, which is still probably one of the best stories in a shooter ever, just really, really phenomenal.
Cool.
And then, I will say, though, a caveat to my list is that I haven't played Dishonored 2. And as much as I love Dishonored 1, I feel fairly confident that at some point there's going to be a post go out, some form of social media that says, I want to kick somebody off my list and give it to Dishonored 2.
Fair enough, dude. We'll put an asterisk on it, and we can always revisit. Like, all right, listen, I played it. It's taking the spot of this. So, yeah, I mean, that's a solid pick for your top games of the year, but also an awesome precursor to like what could come with Dishonored 2. My last pick of the best of 2016. I'm also gonna jump in Ronin's turn, but I'm putting Ratchet and Clank on my top 5 for the year too. Like Ronan just mentioned, they fixed the relationship that was like weird in the first Ratchet and Clank game. And for years we've said it's about time games look like a Pixar movie. That shit looks like a Pixar movie. Like I recently just like replayed it on a PS4 Pro. Dude, I'm telling you, that's the truth, man. Like I was like just screen grabbing like for myself and like just showing them to people, and I was like a game or movie, and they're like a movie, and like nope, that's game. That's like in-engine stuff. And so I like that they kept loyal to the original by doing like the hoverboard races and like the quirky stuff, or like Captain Quark and the boss fights, but they fixed all the stuff I had problems with, and it's just gorgeous. And so I'm glad that game is seeing success. But like we said, the last time I saw that game was $20 at a store. So if you see it for $20, pick it up, because that's a really good time with Ratchet and Clank. Ronan, to cap us off and end the segment, what is your last pick for your favorite games of 2016?
Do I have any guesses of what I have chosen?
Dark Souls 3.
Yeah, Dark Souls 3. I totally forgot about Dark Souls 3.
Ronan did not forget about Dark Souls 3.
Forget about Dark Souls 3.
No, so like every year, well, for the last 2 anyway, we've had Bloodborne and we've had Dark Souls 3. I think it's great. Like what I love about Dark Souls is it's great seeing new people come into the series and say,
yeah,
I know now what the hell you're talking about. And it happens in every game. A lot of people came into the series first with Bloodborne, and we've seen a lot of kind of console, definitely PS4 players, really diving into a Souls game with Bloodborne. And Dark Souls 3 took it back to its roots, did it so beautifully. It's definitely the prettiest game out of the whole series. But it didn't sell out in a way that you think a studio would after making so much money off Bloodborne. They went back to the roots. They did it exactly the way the fans wanted it. And I'm looking forward to Bloodborne 2, because I think there's rumors a mill that Bloodborne 2 will be announced very, very soon. So make sure you keep your ears and eyes open for that one.
The timing would be right? Wasn't it announced in like March or something, and it was coming out like the next year? Or was that an E3 announcement? Anyways, like we're getting close to that, and it's like that's the game that everyone knows is coming. It's like, when's that other shoe going to drop, and just like give it to us? And so, will I go back into it and get my ass kicked again and get frustrated and quit? Yeah, probably, because like this is what I do.
That's the thing. There's always the chance that you'll get hooked. There's always that chance.
Yeah, and I can't like figure that out. But there you go. Like that wraps up that segment. Our favorite games of 2016. I think we create a pretty good list. I'm looking at it, and so we'll put it. You know what? I'll put all these games on a list, and we'll throw up on our Instagram page for people to see our top games.
Sweet.
I think that'd be cool. So again, a quick mention. After the show, we do have a interview with the director of Gamercon 2017, Ferdi Roberts. We go into the future of gaming, the past, present, his work within Gamercon, and really expanding the gamer culture within Europe. It's a really cool piece of content that we came up with. Also, shout out to Amy Ryan at the PR agency that we're working with Gamercon. She's been great and helped us put together this interview. So that's awesome. Ronan, are you getting hounded? What is this?
Am I getting hounded? No, I'm good.
All right, I'm just checking. Your picture froze, and you're looking at the door. I'm like, what's going on with Ronan? As long as we got you on audio, dude. All right. Questions from the audience. Before shows, I throw up on Facebook and Twitter and anywhere I can to see if anyone wants to write in. So we've got more questions than ever, so we're gonna rapid fire through these. You boys ready?
All right, let's do
this.
All right, man. First question from Eric Brittinger of Houston, Texas. Why do I have to wait 366 more days for Red Dead 2? I don't know. I don't know.
Because every plant will be in its perfect place because it's Rockstar.
Are you not used to waiting on a Rockstar game, no?
Yeah, right.
I
should be used to it at this stage.
We got it to him. All right, next question. Also from Eric Brittinger of Houston, Texas. Whose ass do we have to kick to get NCAA football back?
The NCAA, mainly.
I don't know, man. Madden makes that money. I don't know if you have to have him back, but people argue that's the better American football game, so we'll see. So I have no idea. Ronan, do you even know what we're talking about with NCAA football?
I would guess that it's a different game to Madden.
Yeah. Okay.
It's college football.
Well, yeah, university football. Next one, Julie Baldwin from Temecula, California. Hey, how can I get one of those vintage Nintendo systems without having to pay 2 or 3 times what they're selling for? Winky face emoji. Oh, Julie, you're flirting with us, so we like it. Quick answer is I have no fucking idea. Wait till April. I don't know, man.
Patience is key.
Yeah. But really, question to you guys: is this thing an artificial? Artificial demand? You think they have them in the warehouse, right?
Oh, I definitely. I don't think that it was cost effective for them to make them at this smaller quantities and push them through. They're a toy manufacturer. If you look at this is standard toy manufacturer business practice. Fucking Hatchimals. Anyone? Yeah, I know. I know. The goddaughter wanted a Hatchimal. I'm like, I can't find it. Therefore, you're not getting one. Yeah, and so yes, I absolutely believe it's artificial demand, and that is why, honest and truly, your best weapon is to wait. Because the day that stops working as a financial model is the day that they will throw that plan in the trash and just start selling you the products at a regular price.
Yeah. I'm at a loss for words. Ronan, do you know how to find a Nintendo Classic right now?
I have no idea. Probably go on eBay and pay over the price for it. But apart from that, no. I tried to get one for Christmas as well, and I just could not find one. I rang Argos. GameStop basically turned me around at the door, as they often do when you try to get any sort of hardware off them. So yeah, it's a pretty hard thing to find, but I will say there's 2 sources if you're in the US that I think are a good source to hit, but you're going to have to go in there in person, so it's going to take some driving around. If you really are serious, I'll give you a straight up pro tip on how to pull it off. Best Buy and Target. They're large enough chains, and I'll throw Walmart in there as a third, but you're going to find out when I get to the tip part of it why I don't think Walmart's a good option. But those are all large enough chains that they've got guaranteed amounts. They're going to get more than one at a shot. They're going to get a fair amount of them at a shot. Yeah. And they're going to come on a truck from a distribution center, and those guys are going to want to sell them. So I think that here's the pro tip is to talk to the store manager, let them know. Even if it's not true, I would say, hey, it's a Christmas present. Christmas obviously already passed. I'm just trying to get a hold of one. Is there any kind of warning? Can I leave you a cell phone number? I will come down and buy the thing. I just kind of want to get a hold of one, for my kid kind of deal. If you're a person who doesn't like being disingenuous and, tell them whatever your story is. But
At the end of the day, I think that, most of the people I've seen successfully done it have been given a heads up, not because they knew somebody, but because they were there at the store waiting in line, and the manager who was handing out the tickets to get one basically took pity on them, and said, hey, if you come back on this day, we're supposed to get another shipment. Maybe, it's not for sure, So, I mean, I think that's really the way if you're going to try and get one now. But truthfully, just wait.
Just wait, yeah. And our final question from the audience, Kyle from Boise, Idaho writes in, and this is a longer one that might take some thinking. Hey guys, thanks for all the shows throughout the year. You're welcome, Kyle. Life gets crazy, but thanks for sticking out with us in 2016. So my quick question is, what was your biggest disappointment this year? Games, movies, TV, music, anything. Go. This is a super deep dive question, but so I can go two ways with this. If I'm talking game-wise, it's No Man's Sky. I held out to the very last second of that. I thought that was going to be good. On the flip side of that, if we're talking movies, it's like any superhero movie that came out this year that's not Deadpool or Civil War. I mean, Suicide Squad, trash. Batman v Superman, Dawn of Justice, trash. And I was so sad about Batman v Superman because I was the guy that came out and like, I don't think this is going to work, man. And like that trailer got me like hook, line, and sinker. And I'm sitting in the theater and like, nope, it's trash. And so I had to just eat crow on that one, it was rough. But yeah, biggest disappointments, those three for sure. So either one of you guys take that, man. Disappointments of 2016.
Video game wise, I'm gonna back you up. No Man's Sky. I don't think that game deserves hatred for it.
Yeah, me neither. Just
when you're the first person through the wall on that, they're the first people to try and make that type of game. And they went against terrible odds. So I give it to them. It was an achievement of technology. It's a wonderful thing, but the way that it plays out needs refinement. If there was going to be a No Man's Sky 2, which sadly I don't think it's going to come from them, there's going to be a spiritual successor from somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's what hurts me about the hatred towards it. But I think that's a game that needs some more time to incubate. I don't know that you need it that big. I would say they'd be better off shrinking down the size and maybe curating a little bit how much of that mess they put in the finished game. That game was a big disappointment. Movie wise for me, man, I think probably my biggest disappointment, even though I don't dislike the movie, is Batman versus Superman. And my biggest disappointment is that if you're going to sell me that you're adapting a Frank Miller novel, then adapt a Frank Miller novel.
Yeah, dude, make that shit gritty and bloody and go crazy.
Yeah, a lot of people dislike Watchmen, and I personally still like Watchmen because I think that it kept very strongly with the spirit of the book. Didn't follow
it's like shot
perfectly.
for shot. Yeah.
Yeah. It visually it keeps with it. It didn't follow everything I think perfectly and cover some of the subplots that people really love in that book. But it's a movie. You got to kind of respect that. But same thing with 300. People forget it's a Frank Miller novel. And I think a lot of the success of that or Frank Miller graphic novel, but a lot of success of that again is sort of following that arc. And I think if they would have just followed the arc of The Dark Knight Returns, and really kind of kept it in line with sort of taking that story and plugging it into this Man of Steel universe, because it's already tailor-made. You end the Man of Steel sort of with this impression that, wink, wink, I work for the U.S. government. The U.S. government doesn't need to spy on me.
Yeah, sure.
And I think that was just such a perfect setup for that. And when I saw the movie, it was just kind of a muddled mess.
Yeah, agreed.
But, special shout out to Wonder Woman for being the best reason to watch that movie.
Dude, hell yeah.
From a character standpoint.
Tight, dude. Like, I just caught that on HBO the other night, and it just came to the part where she, like, just drops in with her bangles and that theme hits. I'm like, the only redeeming part of that entire film is Gal Gadot as Wonder Woman. Ronan, biggest disappointments of 2016?
So me as an Irishman, my biggest disappointment overall was definitely Donald Trump becoming president.
Yes.
That's a rough one, man. He's going to affect that Irish policy.
It's a really rough one. It's kind of on the same lines as you. And for me, it's not just movies in general that are coming from DC. It's the DC cinematic universe as a whole. I think it's really, really, really gone down the garbage dumpster bin, if that's even such a thing. I think, for me personally, the problem is Zack Snyder. Now, I know Kent obviously is a fan of was it Watchmen? Is that the movie?
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of that product, and that's the reason why it didn't really grab me as a movie. I'm not saying that it was a bad movie, but I think what he has done with Suicide Squad and Batman versus Superman is an embarrassment to that property.
Ronan throwing bullets. I like this.
Look at what Christopher Nolan did for the Batman series. What Christopher Nolan did to the Batman series, he didn't just make 3 brilliant Batman movies. He made 3 amazing films, full stop. And that's what you need to do. You can't, like, the problem with Batman versus Superman and the people that like Batman versus Superman is they like the story it's trying to achieve, the story that it's based on, but it doesn't take any shape or form as you're watching it. It's just it's a real kind of mess. I think Zack Snyder's worst problem is his editing, his direction. The movie does not flow whatsoever. I mean, for me, when I watched Batman versus Superman, it was like Batman flew in one hole, Superman was flying out another, and I was like, what is going on here? And this is the first 20 minutes of the film, and you're just like, none of this makes sense. And then it's like, oh no, but hold up, you need to go and watch the Ultimate Edition. It's like, I'm not watching a longer movie than the movie I just watched that I thought was total trash. It's not going to fix it for me. What? So
I'm
you're
not watching another 35 minutes of trash.
Are going to, blend a movie that the finalized release didn't do. I'm sorry. The DC universe is gone to the dogs. Where it does shine, and where I think my point is proven, is in the TV world. And like some of the TV stuff, Daredevil, for example, is absolutely top quality TV. Jones is another one. They have
that's all Marvel properties though.
Apologies, Gotham is where I was going with.
Okay.
Apologies, I mixed up Marvel and DC with the TV.
God forbid we get fanboys yelling at us.
Honest to God,
damn Irishman, not knowing the difference.
But
it does bring a good point though. That overall TV's been better than the movies this cycle. So I mean, either side you're on, I think people have to admit that.
The best superhero or anti-hero movie that I've seen is Deadpool by an absolute mile. That movie is phenomenal.
Yeah, that movie's great. To get off this negative thing and our last piece before we get out of here, my grab bag question to cap off 2016 is the stereotypical question for 2017. Guys, New Year's resolutions, name one. Let's have it.
I'm gonna be playing video games in my own home. Damn it.
Yeah, that's a good one. Nice. Ronan, New Year's resolution.
Just clean up my diet, get back into the ring, and get the win, basically.
There you go. Yeah, I'm with you, Ronan. Like these last 4 weeks, dude, I've fallen off a truck when it comes to diet and exercise and stuff. So I need to get back into that. And then I got crazy master's program starting, so to kick ass and take names on that and finish up school. And then that'll cap it off as for the show. So we'll sign it out and get out of here, and I will introduce myself at the end of the show for this interview. But Kent, thanks for an amazing year, sir, of the Alpha Zone. Tell the people where we can find you at.
You can find me at Squirp, SQU1RP, everywhere. Xbox, PlayStation, Twitter, which I don't check on because it's become a porn fishing site.
Indeed.
Instagram if you like guns.
There you go, yeah.
And on Facebook, I am myself, Kent Kingsford.
There you go. Ronan, again, sir, thank you for a great 2016. Thanks you for being the driving force of bringing us three together. Tell the people where they can find you at.
You can find me being hated on by mixing up Marvel and DC on Tupacrip07.
Tupacrip 07.
On my PSN account. You will also get me on the Vita as well. I'll be rocking some Vita over the next couple of months. I'm going to just plug the show what I want everyone to go and do is join our Instagram account. It's just Alpha Zone Gaming. We're going to be putting up a lot of our, first hit news and reviews and kind of information that what we're doing.
It's been we backfired on this because we should have started this when a way better news cycle was going on, not towards the end of the year where nothing happens. That may be my bad, but yes, hit that up.
Hit that up. I am putting stuff up on a regular basis, and also over at the Twitter page. If you still use that, for me, it's kind of a dying media, but I'll still throw stuff up on Twitter at the Alpha.
Well,
Cast.
I think it's important to remind people that are listeners too that the Instagram is the only one that all three of us, because of the way that it's set up, can actually post stuff. So everything that you see posted on there is not necessarily from Ronan or from Sean or from me. It's a mixture. All of us post different stuff on there.
Yeah.
And so that's really cool that they allow us to set it up that way.
Yeah, definitely. We have a good motion with that thing.
So hit that up more than anything else. Hit the Instagram up.
Again, Alpha Zone Gaming on Instagram. If people want to find me, I'm Adonai, Adonai on PSN. I'm myself on Facebook. On Twitter, I'm Sean_P_Malloy. I still use that medium because I think it's hilarious and it's quick information, which I like. Again, stay tuned right after this send-off for an interview with Ferdi Roberts of Gamercon 2016 in Dublin. Another quick piece of information is Gamercon is actually expanding across Europe. If you want to know where it's expanding, listen to that interview. And I actually scooped him, and I'm not really good at getting scoops. So we actually have the next 4 locations of different gaming conventions across Europe. With that, that's going to come right after this sign off. Again, stick around. I sign off.
One thing real quick, Sean.
Yeah.
Before you do sign up, thank you, man, for being the host of this show and being being the one guy that's consistently positive on this show. And me and Ronan can both be kind of negative Nancy's, man. We appreciate you and we love you.
We love you, buddy. Love you guys.
You're the reason I got these.
Oh, look at that. Nice, dude. Ronan, wait, let me see. Open before I sign them off. Let's see that VIP ticket.
So I don't want to show you the rest of it, but there you go.
Oh, yeah. Look at that VIP guest ticket. That's what I'm talking about. Legit, dude. All right, man. So that's it for 2016. Stick around for this interview. Again, I sign off every show the same way. We get around our computers and we talk games for an hour and a half every so often because we love it. We don't get paid to sponsor anything. We do it because we have the passion for this industry, and hopefully our passion comes off to you. Once again, Happy New Year. Happy holidays to everyone involved. My name's Sean Malloy, and this is the last episode of the Alpha Zone for 2016. We are out.
What's up, everybody? My name's Sean Malloy, and once again, you're tuned into the Alpha Zone Gaming Podcast. Today's a special event. I, along with Mr. Ferdi Roberts, the director of Gamercon 2017 in Dublin, Ireland, are here for viewing pressure in a special segment that we're piecing together for future episodes. Ferdi, how are you today?
Yeah, very good, Sean. Thanks very much. Thanks for having me on the podcast.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. We really, really appreciate it. You're one of the highlights so far of our guest on the show. We usually talk to different smaller team devs, but now we've been in touch with PR agencies and we got hooked in with you, and really excited about the event itself. As people have heard with different episodes, we've been plugging Gamercon for a while. Ronan Fox, our local Ireland correspondent there, is really excited. He can't believe you actually are putting together a show in Ireland for him. So, yeah, no, we're all very excited for the event. We really do appreciate the time on the show.
Yeah, no, likewise, appreciate the opportunity to come on and share a bit about what we're doing. And, I was excited to hear that Ronan is part of the team. He is... I'm not sure if you're familiar with the geography of Ireland, but Ronan looks like he's from Mullingar, which is in a county called Westmeath, which is originally where I'm from.
Oh, fantastic!
So, great to see a fellow Westmeath man on the podcast. And I'm excited to kind of share with you what we've got planned here in Ireland. I think to Ronan's point, the market here is it's pretty underserved for live gaming events, the entire spectrum, large scale conventions, esports. I mean, all of that, which is I spent a lot of the last 10 years living in the States between Dallas and out in the Valley, just south of San Francisco for about 4 years. And, you know, you just got so many different choices over there of these large-scale events to go to. You're kind of spoiled.
Yeah,
So when I came back to Ireland, I moved back. I sold my business in San Jose and moved back a couple of years ago. And my son is, a very big gamer. We tried to go to some similar events here, and there just really wasn't anything of a similar scale or quality. So that's kind of where the genesis of Gamercon came about, was experiencing what you guys have, you know, on a fairly regular basis over there, and looking to bring similar experiences to the European audience. You know, some decent European events here, but Ireland in particular is underserved.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, with European in general, we have you have Gamescom every year in Cologne, Germany. But I mean, you gave some background about your son, and you recognized that the market's underserved in Ireland. What was finally the catalyst that decided to propel you forward to actually start putting on Gamercon?
Well, you know, here's an interesting bit of background story. But so as I mentioned, I spent most of my career. I've been in the software industry most of my career, and in corporate software as opposed to, you know, gaming or consumer software. And I'd run large scale events before, but they were all kind of business to business as opposed to business to consumer events. And so what that meant was, you know, when you put a business to business event together, it's pretty structured. You're dealing with a pretty, you know, well-defined subject matter, and you know who you need to go talk to, what companies you need to talk to, any sponsors that you need, etc. But I'd worked most of my career in that space, and when I started my own software business, I moved out to Silicon Valley with that business. It was kind of, think of it as an app store for businesses.
Okay, interesting.
For business software, so similar kind of concept to, you know, the app store for music, but for business apps.
Right.
And during my time there, I lived directly opposite the San Jose Convention Center, and I would travel back to Ireland. My family still lived here, and I worked out there for that 4-year period. But it meant that I had, you know, a lot of weekends free and things like that. So I saw these gaming conventions come up, and I thought I'll drop in and just check them out, see what they're like, and was just blown away by, you know, the sheer scale of these events, the attendees, how excited people were, you know, to get engaged in it. And of course, there's a lot of fun with that as well, the whole cosplay side of things.
Yeah, definitely.
But the whole spectrum of gaming. So having attended a number of those, and then similarly, you know, some of the esports events that were taking place around, you know, the stadiums in San Jose, there's an opportunity to see, you know, Intel Extreme Masters and things like that. Again, just a whole different spectacle, that live event. And it kind of, it made me think about gaming. You know, I'd seen my son play, and I'd played with my son, and had been exposed to how, in an online world, how social gaming can be. But actually, you know, to the uninitiated, it looks like it's pretty antisocial, right? Spending a lot of time in your room, but actually there's this whole online social aspect to gaming that, unless you're a gamer, you don't really appreciate. But when you look at it in an offline, in the offline world, you know, gamers, they really like that opportunity to meet like-minded individuals, to, you know, find out what the latest tech looks like, get their hands on the latest gaming gear, and for, you know, depending on what genre of gaming you're into, an opportunity to perhaps meet with people that you played with. So when I look at the convention, I look at it as an opportunity for all of that to happen. It's kind of taking a lot of this online social aspect, but giving it an offline place to, you know, to live and breathe. So that's kind of how I view the convention, is that it's you know, it's plugging in that missing piece that a lot of gamers, particularly in Ireland, have. You know, so for someone like Ronan, who may be playing with other, you know, guys here in Ireland, you know, on a regular basis, as well as other parts of the world, obviously. But if there's an opportunity for you to get together, it's great. People get excited about that. So that's kind of where the genesis was that having all of that time to myself when I was in San Jose, getting into that, and myself, my son would play regularly. He kind of, I come from almost, it wasn't retro to me at the time, but it's retro now.
Yeah,
the old school games.
Yep.
But he kind of got me back into gaming, and it kind of reignited the excitement that I felt when I was when I first started gaming. My favorite game was like Gorf. It was the 8-bit retro games that I would have kind of cut my teeth on.
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
absolutely. The classics.
Yeah, exactly. So that's kind of where it came from, was just coming back here and really not having that choice of large scale quasi events that you could attend. And when we first announced it, the response was just phenomenal. We had, in a couple of weeks, a quarter of the tickets had been sold.
Wow.
Before we really announced exactly what the show was going to be about. So there's just that untapped demand here, and our intention is to bring it to other European cities. Where we'll be announcing in the next couple of weeks. We'll be announcing London for the week of E3, the back end of that. So 13th, 14th, 15th is E3. We'll be doing the 17th and 18th in London.
That's fantastic, Ferdi. That's great news. Yeah.
And then for 2 more planned towards the back end of the year in Berlin and Madrid. So we're excited. 2017 is going to be a big year for Gamercon, and hopefully give us an opportunity to kind of build the Gamercon brand across Europe.
Yeah, that sounds great. And one thing that I wrote a note really quick that's really encouraging about like what you're doing with Gamercon, it's your understanding that the nature of gaming isn't really tied to the individual. It's an individual experience, no doubt, but the way they're doing it is that you're recognizing the social aspect, and us gamers coming out, we can bond with one another. I just got back from the PlayStation experience in Anaheim, and even though that the event itself isn't business focused like an E3 or a Gamescom in Germany, it's really just like-minded individuals getting together to celebrate the one passion we all have. So that's excellent.
That's exactly it.
Yeah. So a follow-up question to Gamercon itself. We have the press release, and we've been reading it out on the show to get people even more excited. But asking you directly, what kind of events and like the excitement can fans look forward to at the show floor?
Yeah. Well, I guess the when we sat down originally to discuss what we wanted the show to be, it was in broad terms, it was kind of making sure that we represented as much as we could in over 2 days, everything that was happening in gaming.
Yep.
And so when we think about that, let's just look at, for example, the Gamer Zone. The Gamer Zone is intended to reflect everything from old school retro gaming, right up to the latest developments in VR, right? So and everything in between. So the intention is with that section of the show, irrespective of whether you're kind of an early stage gamer, maybe a Minecrafter, or these young kids who just want to kind of get their hands on some Lego titles or something of that nature.
Yep.
Moving up into kind of the older titles, that there's going to be something for everyone there, and maybe the teenage son or daughter is watching some esports action whilst their mom and dad are playing in the retro zone. It's to try and make it a family experience, and that there's an opportunity for kind of everybody to enjoy the event, irrespective of whether they're kind of a hardcore gamer, in which case you're going to want to be in the esports and LAN tournament area of the show, but also give people who are maybe more casual gamers an opportunity to kind of get their hands on and play other titles that they perhaps wouldn't be exposed to. Maybe they don't spend that much on games, so to have a couple of 100 different titles that they could get their hands on over the course of the day or a couple of days if they take a weekend pass. That's really good value for them. They're paying €25, which is about $30 for a full day, and gives them full free reign. So that's kind of it on the gamer zone piece. And the VR zone, we're working with PlayStation VR, to try and bring some scale to people's experience of VR, because one of the challenges that you have, not so much with the large scale shows that you'll see in the US or elsewhere, the larger shows in Europe, but certainly some of the events that have run here in Ireland, it's been kind of inaccessible for a lot of people to experience VR at scale, right? So you may go to a retail outlet where there's a demo unit, or you might go to a smaller kind of show that may have 2 or 3 headsets. It doesn't really allow many people to experience it, and we want as many people as possible to experience it at the show. So we're putting, a large number of units on the floor with PlayStation in the PlayStation VR zone, so that they can experience that. And then on the main stage, clearly, YouTube gamers are a huge draw at these events.
Absolutely.
We've announced a few. Yeah, so we've announced a few already. We've got Uber Danger and Jerome ASF. We've got AR12 Gaming, which is predominantly they focus on Forza.
Okay.
So they'll be. In fact, here's a funny story. This will be the first time, and you probably appreciate it. So I don't know if you guys on the podcast have all been together in the same room, but they haven't. So despite the fact they've been doing it for 3 or 4 years, this will be the first time the entire team's together, in a single country,
and
in the same room. So they're going to be on stage, for some on stage gameplay and doing we'll release details of exactly what they'll be doing on stage in the next couple of weeks. But it's going to be a fun experience for them and for the audience, I think.
Yep.
And then I think another aspect of gaming, which is the music of gaming, we announced a couple of weeks back, actually maybe just a week ago, we announced there's a band called All Twins, they're a Dublin band, but they've been featured on the soundtracks for FIFA 16 and Pro Evolution Soccer 17.
Oh, excellent!
They're a great band. Yeah, so they just debuted their album, went in at number 2 in the charts, but they're going to be performing at the event. So I think the live music aspect of it is kind of exposing people to it's more of a kind of a festival feel, I guess. But that's there's a 2,000-seater auditorium that will have them be performing in over the 2 days, and I think that's going to kind of add to the stage experience. For the younger audience, a couple of other YouTubers, Little Kelly, Little Carly, Mind Vengers, they're kind of younger audience. They're kind of Minecraft YouTubers, but between them have billion plus views. They're extremely well received, and again, interestingly, an Irish-based company, Little Lizard Gaming, that brought them to a YouTube audience. So it's nice to have some of that homegrown talent here to share with the Irish gaming public as well.
Yeah, I think what you're doing that's exciting, and I think Ronan can attest to it on the show, is you're really tapping into the quote-unquote like Irishness of gaming. It's the sense of pride of having a convention in Dublin, in your own country, that you're bringing these bands and these locals and these entities into the show. That really, it's not just displaying gaming; it's displaying the Irish culture like as a brand itself. And I think it's wonderful what you guys are doing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's what's interesting, because the Irish market is and the games development companies. There are you've got companies like Riot, Activision Blizzard.
Mm-hmm.
They've all got large scale operations here in Ireland. They take advantage of the development talent that we have here, the creative talent that we have. Just last weekend I was at a Music of Gaming. It was kind of a symphony orchestra here in Ireland, and the conductor of that, who wrote music for World of Warcraft, is a lady called Emer Noon. Now she's based in LA, but she's Irish. She moved out there a number of years back as a conductor and writer of music. So she scored much of the music for World of Warcraft and a number of others. And it was just it was fantastic to to see that. So, yeah, there's a huge wealth of talent. I'm sure. I mean, given your name, there must be some Irish in your backgrounds.
It's 100%. And I would be lying if it's anything but. Yeah, I'm a Sean Patrick Malloy from Tried and True. So both sides of my family are, and I bleed the pride as well.
Yeah, there you go. You're more Irish than I am.
I don't know about that. I don't have the fun accent. The switch, to change gears a little bit, Ferdi. You're a member of the industry. You're putting these events on. You've mentioned PlayStation VR and the focus that VR is going to have going forward. But where else? I want to ask you, where else do you see the medium going forward in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, what's interesting is because I kind of have a foot in both camps, right? I've got the kind of business software background, and then the kind of consumer gaming background. And what's interesting, if you look in gaming in general isn't just influencing popular culture and the thinking that people have. I think it's influencing so much of what we do. Everything from the type of display that you get when you look at your Fitbit results,
sure,
or Jawbone, or whatever fitness device. That's all gamified. People are trying to achieve a certain level. They're trying to achieve a certain result, a certain outcome. Business software, if you go to, I don't know if you use something like LinkedIn or something of that nature, they gamify your, how complete is your profile? Have you added all of this? And as you do, they're kind of gamifying that front end, that UI, or that user interface to show you in a kind of a gamified way how you're achieving compared perhaps to other people.
Sure.
So the concept of gamification in business software is huge and growing rapidly because they recognize, first of all, the workforce that's there right now, as that gets replaced by millennials and the next generation who grew up with gaming as a core part of their life's experience, they're going to respond very well to that. So I think in the next 10 years, it's gamification, on scale, not just in the gaming community itself and in games itself, but actually permeating the devices that we use, the types of websites that we gravitate towards, the types of online applications. There's a general application of our lives, right? We all have personal apps that we really gravitate towards, that are on our home screen, or that never leave that home screen. Other apps may come and go, but they're the apps that we rely on. That's the application of our lives, and that's moving from the personal world into the business world.
Yeah.
So when you go work for a company now, you expect them to provide you with apps that are just as easy to use, give you just as much kind of visual feedback as you're used to getting perhaps from your personal apps.
Yep.
So I think gaming actually is at the center of all of that. So, and in the same way, the other devices, the VR devices, they're moving in every direction. So they're moving into health, they're moving into business applications, they're moving into design. Gaming is mass adoption of that.
Sure.
But I think as people become more used to it, then the concept of, for example, of you maybe getting a health check from some doctor in another part of the country with a VR headset might be more acceptable 10 years from now than perhaps it would be today. But that's a practical example of the application of the technology. So, I think to be in gaming means that you're one step ahead of a lot of what's going to happen in the next 10 years. That's my view.
Yeah, I think you hit it right on the head, Ferdi. I think the accessibility to games and the inclusion of them in different facets of the life, I think it's going to be a big deal going forward. And I think this fitness, I don't know if we can call it a craze, but this projection forward into fitness and this gamification of competing with your friends for steps of the day, I think you bring up a brilliant point with that. And I'm sure our listeners can agree with it. One last question before I can get you out of here. All major media outlets right now are putting their Game of the Year contenders forward. We're doing our Game of the Year episode as this interview is going to roll. So I'm asking you, what are some standouts of 2016 in the world of gaming that you've appreciated, or you've seen your son play, or you've played yourself that really like tipped the cap, like, they're doing something special?
sure. Well, I mean, I'll talk about a couple of personal favorites maybe to start with. So
definitely,
if I look at the last year, I'm going to have to say Uncharted 4 is probably the one that I had the most fun with. I mean, apart from the fact that it's, you know, just killer graphics.
Yeah.
I think you can say that about most of the top end games right now. Yeah, that's my, you know, I kind of enjoy that story-based gameplay.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's I think they suggested, you know, Naughty Dog suggested that it was kind of the end of the franchise. I thought it was, you know, if that is the case, I thought it's a pretty fitting end. It's a pretty, you know, pretty immersive experience. I really enjoyed that. Let me see what else. Battlefield 1 is probably another one. Simply because, you know, I enjoy history. I won't say I'm a history buff, but I enjoy it. And I thought that, you know, the attention to detail. I mean, this is taking, you know, World War One. Typically, when it's depicted, you know, it's pretty depressing. You know, it's kind of mud filled battlefields. You know,
just trench warfare. Yeah.
But I just thought they did a great job. You know, it's just the imagery, historical accuracy of some of these things. You know, so taking like the Harlem Hellfighters and that mix of kind of you know, predominantly black soldiers and Puerto Rican soldiers and what have you, and taking that kind of to an audience, but maintaining some kind of historical accuracy to it, and then dropping these backdrops, which, you know, the Italian coast or, you know, the North African battlefields. I mean, all of that. I just think it's incredibly, you know, gratifying to play. So that was a great one. They're probably my two standouts for 2016. I mean, myself and my son, you know, we're just kicking back, you know, a bit of senseless mayhem. We'll go on Broforce or whatever. He's big into CS:GO, so I watch him.
Cool.
It's not a big part. He's a kind of PC gamer more so than myself as a console player.
Right.
Yeah, so they're probably the standout ones for me.
No, I think you've hit, like we talk about on the show. Uncharted 4 has been a show favorite for a long time. Ronan's playing through Battlefield 1 right now. I got him roped into it. He wasn't sure, but I told him, like, you need to play this game. You need to see the accuracy and the graphical fidelity and what they're doing with it. It's something really special. Before we get out here, Ferdi, I want to give you one last shot to promote the show. So please, like, take 30 seconds, a minute, and really talk to our listeners. Go.
Yeah, sure. Well, so the first of our European events takes place on St. Patrick's weekend, quite appropriately, as we're in Dublin, and that's on the 18th and 19th of March at the Convention Centre in Dublin. It's a state-of-the-art facility. And, you know, we invite people to come along, experience the VR zone, the gamer zone, the main stage with both the live music and our YouTubers from around the world coming in to guest at the event. We partnered with GameStop, so we've got a huge merch market there, and of course you can expect first plays and previews from the major games developers, both here in Ireland and elsewhere in Europe, available at the show. So we hope to see you there, 18th and 19th of March at the Convention Centre in Dublin.
There you have it. I'm Sean Malloy, your host as usual. We're here with Ferdi Roberts of Gamercon 2017 in Dublin. We're excited, Ferdi. We can't wait. And thanks for the time on the show.
Thanks very much, Sean. Appreciate it.
All right. Cheers.